We are excited to have you all here. And, sorry, excited to have you all here joining us from around Asheville, around the US, and around the world. We have some exciting guests and some really exciting presentations this evening, and we are so honored that you are joining us. We've recently been partnering with some other organizations in town for these online events in the new online world in which we live. We did an event with the Collider talking about climate change and Black Starseed. We may be hearing from our friend Cortina about a rebroadcast or an encore presentation of Black Starseed coming up soon. One of the things that we've done a little bit differently this time around is offering this event for free. And we're excited to do that and happy to do that. Our thinking was essentially everyone's got it pretty rough right now, and we want to be able to show these presentations, have our normal event, and have everyone get to consume them without any added stress of paying for it. Because of that, if you are able to donate, there are a few organizations we'll be highlighting throughout the event and around intermission, and also some of our presenters will mention in our YouTube chat any organizations that they would like for you to consider donating to, if that's something you are able to do. The first sort of order of business is that you can access the digital program online at our website. It is PechaKuchaAVL.org or PechaKuchaAVL.org. And that is, once you get to the site, you'll see big and bold our event. You'll click on that and you'll see all of our presenters in the program order. So I'm going to introduce our friend Megan Martell, who's going to talk a little bit about YouTube and the YouTube chat and how all that works.
Hello, I am Megan Martell. I am your friendly moderator for the chat this evening. And I wanted to just take a minute and make sure that if you didn't already know, that you were familiar with the little known fact that PechaKucha means chit chat in Japanese. And a lot of what the PechaKucha live events are about making connections and networking and talking with your neighbors about all of the interesting ideas that are being presented. And because we are all isolated in our little rooms watching this together, instead of doing that, we would really love for you to chit chat through the YouTube chat and engage the speakers, because they are presenting into their screen and they don't get all of the love of a live audience and that feedback. So one way to show your appreciation is even during their talk, don't just wait to the end. You can throw them some love. If they say something you really appreciate, drop it in the chat. Something comes to mind, you have an epiphany because of something they share, drop it in the chat. And one of the things that I'll do at the end of each presentation is share some of your comments. So the more you chat, the more chit chat we can all have together. Of course, if you have any feedback for the PechaKucha organizers, you can drop that in the chat too, and I will make sure that our folks on tech get those questions. So if you're experiencing any difficulties, let us know, and I'll try to respond to questions as I can. And then, of course, to participate in all of this chatting, you'll have to be logged into your YouTube account. So please feel free to do that, feel encouraged to do that. And you can use emojis to show applause and just generally, be interactive with us. We are here with you doing this all together. And that's it from your friendly chat moderator.
Hello again. Thank you, Megan, so much. So just very quickly, usually this is where we would mention, or if I were emceeing, I would mention in our live events exactly what PechaKucha is, where it came from, how many cities around the world it's in now. But we're really lucky this evening to have Mark Dytham, who's one of the creators of PechaKucha, and I think that he will probably do better justice to that than I will right now. So I'm going to leave that bit for him. If you haven't joined us for a PechaKucha night before, and you're a little bit wondering what's going on, you'll know soon enough. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. We will have a very brief intermission in the middle of the program. It's really just kind of to get up and use a restroom, grab a drink, whatever you need to do, but not the normal sort of 15, 20 minutes we'll do in our live events. And we've got some really great presentations coming up after intermission. We'll be doing battle decks. If you have ever been to a live event, those are hilarious and wildly entertaining. And we have a very fun friend who's doing one of those for us. So there's a lot to look forward to. We are going to introduce all our speakers. We've got Zen Sutherland coming up, Marcus Mook Cunningham, Kelsey Simmons, Mickey Snowden, Levita Logan, Dr. Sandra Frempong, Lydia C., and Mark Dytham. So Mark Dytham is the creator, one of the creators of the PechaKucha. He is joining us quite early in the morning. Is it? I don't know if it's 9 or 10. I'm not sure, but it's not the time that it is here now. He's joining us from Tokyo, and he will be presenting later on. But he's going to talk to us a little bit about PechaKucha, and I'm going to let him have the floor.
Thank you very much, Jasper. Hi, Asheville. Big hello from Tokyo. It's 9:15 in the morning here in the future. Yeah, we're 10, 15 hours ahead of you. So yeah, I just want to say a big hello. I'm going to be presenting at the end, and I'm going to go through the sort of history of PechaKucha and how it started, and also tell you a little bit about what I do or what we do as architects here in Tokyo. It's been quite interesting that all of our events obviously were physical before, and we kept it that way. We didn't stream out the events because we thought, if it's raining, people won't attend. So we were very much about getting together in a physical space. We're a physical social network, not just a social network. And that had served us well for many years. But obviously, when we got to the pandemic stage, suddenly we went from having 120 events around the world to 0. And we flipped online very quickly. In fact, in a couple of weeks, we've held over 250 events online since the pandemic. And it's been really, really interesting that it's bringing the network closer together. And I am able to drop in and say hi from Tokyo. And I welcome you all to drop into our Tokyo event and say hi from Asheville. So without further ado, I'll hand it back to you guys. And have a great, great evening. I'm going to be dropping in and saying a few comments. But break a leg, everybody, and have a great night tonight.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you so much for being here and for joining us. All right, y'all, without further ado, we're going to begin. Our first presenter is Zen Sutherland.
So among my many creative pursuits is taking toys and making them do stuff they weren't designed to do. Like the remote control doll on the left that crawls around on its hands, or a drone hat, or a brain that laughs when you tickle it. Follow along as we go repurposing a toy with my current project. Why toys dumps are filled with bright plastic and the heavy metals which get discarded by kids. A good way to save them from the landfill is to hit the bins at Goodwill. And I love that I don't know what is going to be there or what kind of thing that will inspire. It's kind of exciting, like Soviet shopping. This particular project started when I came across Mattel's MindFlex e-toy. It came with a headset that said it read EEGs, which raises or lowers a little styrofoam ball via a small fan with your mind. And I thought, what kind of music could I make with my mind? It's not that new, really. Many musicians have used brainwaves, from simply amplifying existing brain signals to instructing musicians on what to do live, and lots in between. For me, the object was to do it with toys and do it with what I could find or buy cheaply. So at first, I had to hack into the MindFlex headset. I found some online information of how to get data from the circuit board in it, but even so, it turns out that one electrode on a single position on the head is a pretty piss poor way of trying to read all the weak signals that escape our skulls, which is why actual medical devices have caps with 10, even hundreds of electrodes on the head to capture meaningful data. I did get it to work, but after all, it's a toy, so it's pretty crude, but that was part of the challenge. And so next, I had to interpret the digital signals coming out of the MindFlex. A microcontroller will be its brain. I could do an entire PechaKucha on those tiny, almost computers and the world of sensors and inputs and outputs and software and how they have opened up the maker and DIY world for me. But how am I going to create music? A lot of low-end toy keyboards use a chip called the VS1053B. Comes from China and has over 100 instrument sounds built in. They sound a little cheap, but it works, and it responds to simple electronic commands to produce notes called MIDI. MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface, and the standard for communication between electronic instruments, computers, and other equipment. It's been around since the 80s and is the kind of a word processor of music. It's not actually a language of sound, but of when and how notes get played. To connect all these different bits up, I use breadboarding, that white thing with all the holes in it. It temporarily connects electronic parts and modules and integrated circuits and all that to see if they work together electronically. And all that wiring can make for a real snarl of experimentation, which means I need to keep very detailed notes and photos before I solder and put it all together. Taking photos also helps with doing PechaKucha slideshows. After that, I need to find a box or some sort of container to put it all in. And that's when Goodwill came through for me again. A Fisher-Price toy laptop had a place for a big screen, a couple of buttons and menu selections, plus it was cheap. I mean, I could have put all the components into a cigar box, but where's the fun in that? And there's not a lot of extra space in modern e-toys. I wanted to keep the switches and buttons of the Fisher-Price toy working. I had to get creative and had several failures, but you tear it out and you start again. I actually bought a second one on eBay just for backup purposes. And once it was done, you'd think I'd have all those wires and electronics stuffed into the toy, I'd be finished, but there's software to consider. The big question is, how do I match up brainwave data with musical notes of MIDI? So in this next screenshot, the computer code is on the right and some diagnostic output on the left. I have a fair understanding of musical theory and a love of randomness, and a 20-second slide is not going to show all the immense amount of time and work spent programming with a lot of trial and error, but that's what I love. I started with complete random notes, beep, bop, boop, bop, bop, and then began using data from the headset to limit things like note length, note selection, key signatures, instruments, and like that. You start with the universe and remove everything that isn't what you want, kind of like they say about sculpture. I've decided to call it a cephalotone, a musical instrument driven by the user's brain waves. Is it actual music? Yeah, kinda. Is it a sound of someone's brain? No, but you can flex your mind to get it to change the sound, and maybe that's what our fingers do when we're playing a real instrument. And speaking of the real world, sometimes I annoy personal relationships by asking my dear friends to try contraptions out. It's very informative to get people's reactions and helps add usefulness, or whimsy in this case, to a particular project. And even though I finished mostly what I set out to do, I want to emphasize that being a maker or even a mad toy scientist, such as myself, is really about failure and learning from what you did, because everything everything is a healthy mix of failure and success. So what's next? Who knows? What toy or object will inspire me? Maybe the same EEG device could control a synthesizer rather than just a note player. I'd also like to do a performance reading of my poetry while my mind plays the background. By the way, the bottom right object I've created already. It's a ray gun that talks to you in haiku. Thank you and happy making.
Great presentation. Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you, Zen.
Yep.
That was a great presentation. I loved the intersection of whimsy and science and work and play and risk-taking and methodical planning. You do such a great job of balancing those dichotomies. And in the chat, we saw a lot of love for the treasure hunting that you do and the hybrid toys and some of your images, and the haiku ray gun was a big hit too. So thank you. Thank you also to our audience who is doing up the chat. We really appreciate it.
That's it right there, by the way.
Yeah, very good. Hey, I just wanted to say it's really great. I mean, PechaKucha's always like a box of chocolates. You never know quite what you're going to get. That was an awesome presentation, and it's always great to learn new terms like breadboarding. I'm going to drop that into a conversation in the next week or so. So so much, and it's going to be great to connect you with our global community. We have so many otaku, which is a Japanese word for nerd. You're not a nerd by any means, you are a mad scientist, but there are so many great presentations. Moritz Waldemeier presented, and he makes all of the jackets for OK Go and for Bono when he got on his rig, and his jacket was made with 2,500 lasers. You know, so there's lots of really great presentations which are very similar to yours, but completely different. So great to connect you all together. So thanks again for a great presentation.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just have fun. I go to Goodwill and see what I can do. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do.
Yes,
Okay.
and that was incredible. So we have a short demo video that we're going to see. We weren't able to show it in the presentation. We're going to watch a short demo of what the cephalotone is all about.
Okay, the cephalotone is going to now play 3 separate 20-second selections of jazz, classical, and then wind chimes. This is how you attach it to your head. Thank you for listening.
Wow.
Thanks, everybody. That was my mind playing.
That was so cool.
Oh, it's amazing. This is the great thing about PechaKucha. Who knew you had somebody like this in your community? And it's totally a world-class project. So it's going to be great to put it online for everybody else to see around the world. Great job, Zen.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Then do something for COVID.
Yeah. Well, I do have a COVID medallion that you press it and it coughs. So it just keeps people away.
All right, y'all. That was great. Next up, we have Marcus Mook Cunningham.
Unmuted. Hey, it's a new thing. Let's start from the beginning. All right. So, hey guys, I've already messed it up once. So I'm going to get it right the second time. But this is just like everything in life. Just like you said, it's a mixture of failure and successes. And life has no box. Clearly, this is me. I'm a regular guy. I work for the Department of Health and Human Services. I go to sleep at 10:30. I wake up at 9. I do everything that a regular person does. But in the sense of there being no box, I don't let anything keep me there. So I'm a wrestler. I'm a rapper. I own a business. And I'm a wrestling promotion owner, a business owner. So I did say professional wrestling. So what is a guy like me, a little guy like me, doing in the ring like that? Like, are you kidding me? Like, whenever we think of professional wrestling, we think of Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Austin 316, right? We don't think about the little guys. No longer is wrestling a place where you see overly muscle-bound people in the ring. You know, now, some people would say that wrestling is a modern-day soap opera where you're just watching a whole bunch of drama. Men in underwear wrestling and fighting for a belt, right? Makes no sense. But at the end of it, wrestling is way more than the little bit of fanfare that it's attributed to. It's way more than just some pyro and loud music and a light show. Ultimately, wrestling, it's where we have community. Wrestling is where we find the best parts and the worst parts of what life is. It's a representation. It's still real to me. Now, I'm not going to tell you that everything that you see in that wrestling ring is as real as we would like for it to be. But the ultimate truth is it's real enough for you to end up in a stretcher. A lot of people have lost life and limb doing the things that we love for the art of wrestling, because that's exactly what it is. Now, over time, we've lost some of the connection with the people, some of the connection with our folks, because it has been caught up in the speculation of being fake. But so many people don't realize that prior to anyone being able to live that dream of jumping off the top rope and pumping that elbow down into the chest of your foe, the force is just with me, that you have to train. There's weeks and months and years of training that has to occur. You know, I have seen many of people take that first bump that is the opposite of every self-human preserving thought that you have. And once you hit the mat, you're walking out the ring. But it's a lot more than just men and women and people just fighting. There's psychology. There's got to be something that ties you in, that makes you feel. We have had people cry and people laugh and cheer. And ultimately, pro wrestling is life. You know, it is the physical embodiment of struggle. It tells a story from the start to the finish. You know, sometimes in wrestling, you have your victories. You win. Sometimes in wrestling, you're winning with your friends. Sometimes you're winning with your enemies or folks that you don't know are your enemies. Oh, wrestling gives you the opportunity to peek deep inside of who you are as a person, to feel your pain, to feel the struggle. You know, sometimes wrestling is very funny. Wrestling is funny, just like life is. And, you know, just like life, sometimes you just got to grab it by the balls, because ultimately you never know what life is gonna. I am so sorry, y'all. I know this was not meant to happen. 1 second.
Hey man, I got your pizza here you ordered.
I didn't order a pizza, man. Like,
Oh, maybe you didn't hear me first. I said I got this pizza here you ordered.
I didn't order pizza. Just chill. Chill.
Right.
Just. Oh.
Yo, what's up, big man? Huh? Oh, how you like that? Oh, what? Is this a camera? No. How you get this off? Do it. Oh, shoot. Ah!
Sometimes you never know what to expect, but you got to kick wrestling in the face. You got to kick life in the face. And at the end of it, you come out on top. It's a struggle, but you don't give up. It's a constant fight. Sometimes you get hit with the pizza, but then you realize that that person that you saw on TV that was spouting lightning from his fingers, you're not just like that person. You are the lightning. And after a while, you start to realize that every box that was set in your life, everything that they told you that you couldn't be, you could. It was inspiring. Wrestling showed you that you weren't just a dad, you're a superhero. Wrestling is life, and we need to connect back with our people. We miss you guys. So buy those tickets. Come to those events, whether you are joining us virtually or not. It's life, and we miss you. Thank you.
Wow. What can you say?
Oh.
That was awesome.
You are brave.
You got me.
That was amazing.
You got a lot of love in the chat. People mentioned, talk about a passion play. One person said that they brought a young friend of theirs to one of your matches and you absolutely made his day. Wrestling can be common ground, which is something we really need. It looks like performance art. The physical expression is awesome. The window into the depth of the wrestling community that you gave us, and the representation and passion and struggle and story and humor, it was all super awesome. And nice cameo, pizza guy.
Or
Thank
was
you.
it? What's the question? Hey man, great job. I don't know who's presenting or what, I've no idea who's presenting about what. That was the last type of presentation I was expecting from you. So, again, you don't know who's in your community, and that's why PechaKucha is so great in bringing all these hidden heroes to the surface. Well, great. That's one of my top 10 ever PechaKucha presentations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I've seen a lot of presentations, I can tell you. That's so
Well,
great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
That was amazing. That was awesome. Thanks, Mook. My good friend, Peter, who I grew up with, was obsessed with wrestling as a kid. And I cannot wait to show him that presentation because for whatever reason, I wasn't really into it. I think my two moms were not into me consuming wrestling. Hippy dippies from Asheville, you know how it goes. But I loved being at his house and getting to watch it and getting to hang out with him and see the wrestling stuff. And I'm excited to talk to him about this. All right, y'all. Next, we have Dr. Sandra Frempong.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hi, everyone. My name is Sandra Frimpong. I'm the creator and host of the quiz show Let's Explore Africa. Africa, the second largest continent and home to over 1 billion people. According to Charles Darwin, it is the cradle of humanity, a place where our collective umbilical cords lies between the Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania and Gauteng in South Africa. Ask anybody, what is Africa? You will hear something like country. Many call it a troubled region, landmass riddled with conflict and home of despots, starvation, or where animal roams freely. What do you know about Africa, I ask? Yes, between 1525 and 1866, slavery robbed Africa of 10 to 15 million of our children who were brought to the Americas, Europe, and Australia. The horror and the lamentation as they passed through the doors of no return in Gore, Elmina Castle, Lomboko, and the turbulence on Lamis Da. Those left behind were not spared the indignity of oppression. For in 1884, Chancellor Otto von Bismarck hosted 14 nations and where they decided to split up the abundant resources of the continent and thereby colonize. It would take another 76 years before before they get independence. That did not even come easy because it led to a lot of issues of tribalism, internal conflict, and forced exile. But beyond these stenches, what else do people know about Africa? I have to say that Africa is a gorgeous mosaic occupied by resilient people who served as leaders, oracles, diviners, and warriors. They define cultures and traditions that guide their families and community and tribes and ensure orderly society. They nourish their country's independence and defending laws that protect them to this day. You're talking about hardworking people, people who till the ground, engage in serving and industrial operations and trading. And we can also remember men's living children and their family days on end, working in the belly of the beast, to to mine gold and diamonds. People created art and faces like the legendary Queen Idea, and also poetry and terracotta, as much as the city of Timbuktu, things that they needed to survive and thrive, and a lot of mosques also within the Maghreb in North Africa. Your understanding of this continent should go beyond the movie Out of Africa. Some of the remarkable endeavors that are represented in this continent include space projects in Egypt, Ethiopia, and Algeria. And don't forget Things Fall Apart, a popular novel, and also the vaccination method relayed in 1721 by Onesimus. In terms of development, as civilized community, they develop their own national symbols, such as currencies, flags, cultural ethos, with underlying messages and and things that help them in unifying emotional appeals. Come and see the landmark featuring the African Renaissance, the blue pearl of Morocco, that's the city of Shushan, Neto in Angola, and Matai in Ouagadougou, as much as in the Swahili architecture. Pause a bit to appreciate the breathtaking Victoria Falls, the great beach migration that occurs between Tanzania and the Serengeti Plains, between Masai Mara, and observe the big five wildlife at Kruger National Park. Of course, you want to see the pyramid naturally. On fashion, those are not pieces of clothing. They're styles that design, identify tribes, and explain family history. So pick a kente or try on an ishikolo, the headgear, Kenyan hairpiece, so agbada ileke or iro and buba. and a lot of other artifacts that you can have in terms of fashion. There's nothing that is as pleasing as trying African dishes, and what better way to explore a culture if not through its food? So savor the dishes with selections telling stories about national origin and choices of ingredients like inyo, injera, and also when you're done eating, what's life when it's all work and no play? African relish fun time and reflect on dances for rituals and festivals and events. So relax and watch soccer or engage in playing ayu with families and friends. Go. It's remarkable that despite all the wars and never-ending plebiscites that Mother Africa has to endure, it has produced personalities such as Mandela, Lupita Nyong'o, Wangai Matari, Makiba, Angelique Jo, just to name a few. And also, I would be remiss to not acknowledge the descendants of our brothers and sisters who were taken from the shores a long time ago. That is, personalities such as Maya Angelou, Oprah, Frederick Douglass, Chadwick Boseman, and Mae Jemison. I will also be damned if I exclude those who may not look like Africans, but they draw their first birth from the continent. And I'm talking about people like Johnny Clegg, okay, who is considered white Zulu, as well as Nadine Godima and Ison Laurent. And to follow what Bob Marley said, he said, please do not forget your history, know your destiny. So I appreciated the opportunity to salute Africa through education, and in most cases through the competition that I host along. And on that note, I invite every one of you to please join and take the challenge and compete in Let's Explore Africa, the future of tradition and the continent that God held in reserve. Thank you.
Great job. Fantastic.
Thank you, Sandra. So informative. I love the way that you share your passion for information and your expertise, not only with us tonight, but just with Asheville as a whole community. All of the work you do is about outreach and sharing your knowledge and saluting Africa, as you said. And of course, my heart goes out to anyone who does their work through education. I think that's incredible. You got some comments in the chat about loving all the textiles and some thanks. Robin is inspired to travel to Africa. So we all enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great. And we have so many PechaKucha cities in Africa. I was just on it again, the way we're running PechaKucha now, I can drop in. So I spoke in Dar es Salaam, and we have a really great PechaKucha city in a city called Cotonou in Benin, which I didn't even know there was a country called Benin. So it helps my geography running PechaKucha. And there, for our 20th, for our International PechaKucha Day, the organizer there composed the PechaKucha song, and I'll put that in the chat. It's really fantastic. Really colorful presentation. Thank you so much. And again, let's keep connecting everybody through the PechaKucha Global Network. Awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you, Dr. Sandra. All right, y'all. Next, we have Kelsey Simmons.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Kelsey Simmons. I work at a nonprofit, and I'm also a real estate agent. I'm extremely passionate about social equity, passive income, and generational wealth, which is why I chose to speak about this topic. I'm also a diehard Asheville native, and I'm stoked to be here tonight. Let me ask you this. How often do you sit daydreaming about the trips you've always wanted to take? The family time you've been missing out on, being able to enjoy your work without stressing about bills and debt. Sounds good, right? Well, your days of daydreaming are over because at this very moment, you hold what allows you to live the life you want. Do the things you want to do and live the dreams you've always wanted to live. You have it with you right at this very moment. Did you know that? A wise man once asked, "What enables one to own his life?" And another wise man answered, saying, "The answer to that is freedom, financial freedom to be exact. It gives you the ability to own your own life." Own your own life? But wait, what do you mean? I do own my own life. I mean, I get 20 vacation days a year to go wherever I want. My retirement plan is looking good for the future, and I get home before it gets dark. So I don't know what you're talking about, but I definitely own my own life. I hear you. I really do. So you get 20 days a year while they get 345 days of you. You spend years building retirement only to be able to enjoy it when you get older. You get home before it gets dark, but do you have any energy left to spare it on what you actually love doing? There's nothing wrong with working at a job, especially if it's your passion and you're happy with it. But financial freedom gives you the ability to make decisions based on happiness, not money. 75% of people believe that hard work is the key to success, that all you have to do is work hard and you'll reap the benefits from that very action. But in actuality, hard work only gets you so far. I come from a family of dedicated, hardworking people. They don't stop and won't stop until the job is finished. I've watched generations of my family exchange their time for money every single day. So much to the point where some days we were lucky to even see each other at the dinner table. In my family of hard workers, their ideal week consisted of working long shifts, day in and day out, with little money or time left over to actually enjoy life and do what makes them happy. Growing up and witnessing this day in and day out, I knew that this wasn't the life that I wanted to live. So I had two choices. I could be a product of my environment, work day in and day out, exchange my precious time for a paycheck, or I could learn how to create a new outcome for myself to where I would enjoy life. And that's exactly what I did. After research upon research, I decided I wanted to be able to live financially free so I could spend as much time with my family and friends as possible, reach my goals of traveling the world, and help teach others about having a financial freed mindset. So where the heck do I start? So with financial freedom, there are two ways you can achieve it. You can either save, 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 therefore you have enough to live off of before you reach retirement age, or you can have multiple streams of income. I decided to implement both, save money and have multiple streams of income. What were my streams of income, you ask? Well, that was a journey in itself. I really had to figure out what streams of income worked for me. I tried several things. I tried making handmade bracelets and selling them on Etsy, but there were some seriously crafty people who had me beat in competition. I tried starting my own hair business, but years down the road, I knew my body wouldn't forgive me for those countless hours of standing. I tried starting a bakery, but let's be real, I wasn't the best chef in the world. So I had to find what worked for me. Then that's when it clicked. Real estate. Not only real estate, but real estate investing. This seemed like a big step for me, seeing how I had no one in my family who was in real estate. The only homeowner in my family was my grandmother, but I knew it had to be done. I studied hard and got my real estate license with the goal in mind of being a real estate investor one day. Why real estate? Because with real estate, you can achieve passive income, which leads to financial freedom. Passive income is where you can receive income without actively working for it. So if I have enough income coming in from rental properties to cover my monthly expenses, then essentially I would no longer have to work unless I wanted to. Not only did I want to achieve financial freedom for myself and my family, I also did it for my community. I wanted to give back to the African American community by teaching them about financial freedom and how to build wealth through real estate. With all the systematic inequalities that the African American community faces every single day, it is extremely important for me to empower them in this way so that we can create a strong community of generational wealth, home ownership, and financial freedom. When you invest in something, it's important to know your why. My why was that at the end of the day, I mainly do this for my family because they spent their entire life breaking the cycle so that it would be easier for me. I'm just trying to do the same thing for me and the generations that there are to come. Thank you for listening.
Yay, Kelsey. So Kelsey and I work together at Open Doors. I'm totally biased here, but it's so awesome watching you talk about your dream and your focus on why, as Jay said in our chat, you are enacting this vision not only for yourself, which is an incredible feat, but also for your community and our community and in the work that we do every day. Jay also said that he loves the personal and the community connections that you shared. And a few folks are saying, great topic. I think it's, an incredibly important and inspiring story to tell. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm super passionate about it, so I'll talk about it anytime.
I think these stories are really fantastic, and what an inspiration, the stories and what an inspiration you are in the community. So thank you very much. It's really great to hear about this. You know, it's it's the thing is with PechaKucha, okay, when you turn on the news, you hear one story about the world or many stories about the world. But when you tune into PechaKucha, you actually see the real snapshot of Asheville, the real snapshot of any city around the world. And everybody is so positive, and there are so many brilliant people, so many brilliant stories, you know. I really want people to tune out of the mainstream media and tune into PechaKucha, because I think that's where it really is, you know. So thank you for your lovely presentation.
Thank you. Yeah.
That was awesome, Kelsey. Thank you so much. All right, so we have a very brief intermission, just a couple of minutes. Refill your drinks, use a bathroom, share this with your friends. When we come back, we're going to see Battle Decks, which is hilarious and amazing. Our friend Kristen is going to get a bunch of, she's going to get images she's never seen before and do her own PechaKucha presentation with no prep, and it's going to be really hilarious and really incredible. After that, we'll have Levita Logan, we'll have Mickey Snowden, and we'll have Lydia C, and it's going to be a great second half. So we are looking forward to seeing you very shortly.
That was fun. More fun than I thought.
Cool. Great job, everybody, so far.
Great job, everyone.
Awesome.
Yeah, are we hanging out with each other? Like, nobody can hear us.
Correct.
You have to whisper.
Welcome back, everyone. All right, so we have battle decks up for you, which are going to be amazing. Kristen was an organizer with us for a long time, and she's really one of the funniest people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. She is going to, she's basically going to have images show up behind her as though she were doing her own presentation. She's never seen them before, and she's just going to riff off the cuff, and we all get to enjoy the beautiful, beautiful magic that will happen. So, Kristen, take it away.
Why, thank you, Jasper. Well, I want to start by telling you about my childhood. I spent a lot of time hanging out. I hung out everywhere I could. Believe me, if I could find a place to hang, I would. This is a photo of me as a young woman. And this is another photo of me also as a young woman. I learned a lot, you know. One of the things that was a real game changer for me was finding out that I am actually not a human. I am part bird, and this is my grandmother giving me the gift, or she was letting me know who I really am. And it was surprising to find out that I am not fully human. I'm part bird, and I have a lot of gifts to give the world. One of those gifts is shock. I give people a lot of shock. And there's things that I say or do that will reveal my true self. You know, when people look from afar, they think, who is this person? And why does she wear a red wig? That's a good question, and I'm going to address that. I used to live a pretty wild life. I was known for breaking in and robbing McDonald's, of all places. I just loved their French fries, and I couldn't get enough. Happy Meals, I enjoyed tremendously. Thank you.
Wow.
That's actually pretty accurate for Kristen. Even though she
Yeah, I was like, this just sounds like a day in the life, really.
aside from armed robbery, but yes.
I don't know.
That's
Jay
really
thinks you have
fantastic.
real talent.
We when we were physical events, we would always have a deck ready to go, just in case somebody dropped out, you know. And so we had this random deck of slides which we used to just have in reserve, and then we'd invite 4 people up, and each took 5 slides, just like that. So it was our way to, it was our padder just in case somebody didn't show. But really great job. We really love that.
That was great. Thanks again, Kristen. And yes, and responding to what Mark just said, that's something that we've done at our live events as well. We'll have a few people sort of tag back to back. And honestly, it was a while ago, so that might have been an idea from you, Jay, that we all took on, and that's how it all came to Asheville. All right, y'all. Before the next presentation, I just want to mention three of the nonprofit organizations that have been so kind to support our work and to be great stewards in the community. The Center for Craft. These are, when I mentioned at the beginning of the program, our reason for keeping the event free and kind of allowing this to happen in Asheville while everyone's dealing with the myriad effects of the world that we live in now with COVID-19. If you are able to take the money that you might have used to pay for a ticket and donate to an organization, we've worked with the Center for Craft. Their donation page is centerforcraft.org/support. Also, the Odyssey School, they are working on their annual campaign throughout the month of December, and their website is odysseycommunity.org/giving-to-odyssey. And also Homeward Bound, working to end homelessness, and their donation page is www.homewardboundwnc.org/donate. So please consider, if you are able, supporting any of those organizations. All right. So next we have a presentation from Lavita Logan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lavita Logan, and I am the project consultant for People on the Move for Ford. I work for a grassroots organization here in McDowell County. In early January, I won this Martin Luther King Junior Spirit Award for the work that I was doing in my church and also in my community. This was the beginning. Winning this award gave me the courage to move forward in the work of my community. With a strong support system, these three ladies, Paula Swepson, Ginger Webb, and Mary Snow, gave me the courage to move on. They worked with me, they stood by me, and they helped me grow into my work. As COVID-19 hit our small town, this was our first food distribution. We gave food away from Food Hub, Countryside Barbecue. We also gave masks, hand sanitizer, and information on COVID relief. As the businesses was opening back up, the People on the Move, gave a monetary donation to the Black beauty salons here in Old Fort, Root Salon and Designer Touch. And we also, as the kids went back to school, we would, with COVID, we also would help with our backpack program. Here's the ladies that was packing up the backpacks with school supplies, and we also gave them a backpack to start their school year. As People on the Move partnered with the local camp here in Old Fort, Camp Greer, here's the picture of training for the adults so we can help train the kids on trails, reading maps, and navigating their way out of the woods if they ever got lost. We had several camp days with the kids and also the adults in kayaking, swimming, hiking, and fishing. We would like to make it fun for the adults and also the children. Here's the camp director with a child on the board as he sails with her through the lake. They're having fun, and since COVID hit, we wanted to give them some fun instead of being up in a house like they have been doing all summer long. This right here is my favorite picture because of the little girl and the camp director. She just took to him, and she was pretty much following him all around the whole day. But this right here is one of my favorite pictures. We also like to have the adults join as well in kayaking and swimming, and at least learning how to navigate out of the trails for hiking. We also would like to make these trails here at Old Fort more diverse. That's what People on the Move is aiming for, to get people of color on the trails. And August the 31st, we had it was designated for Overdose Awareness Day. We celebrated that day with a walk through Old Fort. We were supposed to have a program, but due to COVID, we couldn't have one. This right here is the tribute banner where the families come and listed their friends or their family member on the tribute board who has lost their lives during overdose. We was wanting to end the stigma around overdose and drug use. Here's a family wearing a purple mask that is the ribbon color for the overdose awareness. As we celebrate our own Black hero here at 04, Mr. Albert Jr. Sr., here is the first projection of the mural. It hadn't been painted yet. The artist his name is Don Remix. He's from Puerto Rico. He resides in Orlando, Florida. Mr. Joyner was one of our local civil rights heroes. In 1950, the Catawba View Step School was closed down, and the kids had to be bused to Marion, to an all-Black school. We had the kids protesting in 1951 to keep their school open. And they also hired a lawyer, Mr. George Sandlin, and this is his building that the mural has been painted on. He went to law school in his late age, at the age of 60, and he was a civil rights lawyer for the kids. The parents got their money together and hired him. And so they protested to keep their school open. In 1952, they demolished the school, and the kids had to be bused to Marion, to an all-Black school. 15 miles to Marion and 15 miles back, was 30 miles each way. In 1954 was the Brown versus the Board of Education, which was trying to desegregate the schools. And we have Mr. Joyner was at his house, and he saw 5 kids wanting to go to school because they didn't want to be bused to Marion. And so he walked them to the school, and as you see, he's talking to the superintendent trying to get the kids enrolled in school. And his quest was denied. He was met with an angry mob. He was punched and threw in the water in the Arrowhead Fountain in 04. And this right here is the celebration of the completion of the mural. Whenever you come to 04, which is a little town at the end of the foot of the mountain, just come by on Main Street going west, and you'll see this beautiful mural on this building. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lavita. In the chat, we've got folks commenting on how much fun that looked to be on the lake, and how it reminds Jay of the summer weather and the beautiful mural and the powerful stories and images. It's amazing to hear about the way that you're celebrating and educating and connecting with community and place in Old Fort, and the history in Old Fort, and what's the natural world in Old Fort, and bringing all of that together. Thank you so much for sharing your work.
Thank you.
It's really lovely to hear the backstory about the mural. I think sometimes you see these, and although it's really beautiful and you kind of know the story it tells, it was really interesting to hear all about it and its origins. So really great job. And again, it's really great for the community to see this. And we'll put these up on the PechaKucha website, and not only Asheville, but the rest of the world will be able to see them. So great presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lavita. That was great. And just a little sort of behind the scenes magic. My mom, when I was a little kid, we lived in Old Fort, and my mom lived in Old Fort for a number of years. And she just texted me to say that she never learned any of this in Old Fort, and she's so excited to learn some of this essential history. So that's awesome. I don't have much of a memory. I was 3, I think. So, but it's when I travel back there and coming down at the bottom of that mountain on 40, it's beautiful, that valley. All right, y'all. Next is Mickey Snowden.
Hi, I'm Mickey Snowden, a recent graduate of UNC Asheville's Master of Liberal Arts and Sciences program and a professional writer. I got the inspiration for my PechaKucha presentation while preparing for a writing course on change I'm teaching in the Great Smokies writing program this spring. I think we can drop a link in the chat if you'd like to learn more and register. Heraclitus said that the only constant in life is change. and this mantra rings true for every generation. Society currently finds itself at a crossroads of social, economic, political, and environmental decisions, all of which come with their own repercussions to ourselves and to future humans. In this short presentation, I'd like to examine three major types of change I see occurring right now. The first type of change I'd like to talk about is climate change. The effects of climate change can be seen virtually everywhere, from increasingly catastrophic hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean to a doubling of forest fires in the western US within the last 35 years. Just look at this year's hurricane and fire season. Climate change is not a new concept. I'm going to get a little technical here, so bear with me. Thanks to ice core samples, we know that Earth's carbon dioxide levels have fluctuated between about 180 and 300 parts per million. But since 800,000 BCE, CO2 levels had never exceeded 300 parts per million until 1950. As of September 2019, NOAA reported nearly 415 parts per million of CO2 in our Earth's atmosphere. The International Panel on Climate Change warns that a warming of 2 degrees versus a warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius could significantly increase global mean temperatures, while also increasing precipitation in some regions and causing drought in others. But not everyone's ability to adapt to the effects of climate change is the same. Rather, it's affected by social determinants of health, such as race, gender, age, income, health, and education. Climate change will disproportionately impact socially vulnerable populations in the coming decades, with African Americans, Latinx, and poor people at the front lines. The second type of change I'd like to discuss is socio-political change. Though the term globalization was coined in the 1970s, our world has been integrating since countries began colonizing one another. But in the last decade, globalization has picked up speed, resulting in humanity's fingerprints on just about every corner of the world. Some aspects of globalization are undeniably good. Democracy, women's rights, and reductions in poverty and infant mortality rates are just a few. But some aspects aren't as rosy, such as the ability for diseases to spread, the risk of bio and nuclear warfare, cyber attacks, and increased carbon emissions from trade. Recently, however, we've seen a rise in nationalism in countries like our own, Brazil, and Great Britain. This nationalism is a backlash to the outsourced jobs, immigration, international trade agreements, and the threat of war and terrorism brought on by globalization. Of course, nationalism isn't a new concept either. Most countries were considered nationalistic before the modern rise of globalization. But a retreat to nationalism, especially in the Western world, could result in increased warfare in developing nations, a widening of the wealth gap among the developed and developing world, xenophobia, and increased competition between the US and China. The third type of change I'd like to talk about is generational change. Generations are always changing. That's the nature of living and dying. But I think the generational shift we're currently experiencing is unique in a few ways. First, baby boomers are beginning to retire, and as their influence fades, so are birth rates and traditional career structures. Millennials currently make up over a third of the US workforce, having surpassed boomers in 2014. But unlike many of their parents, a large percentage of millennials are interested in starting their own businesses and organizations rather than joining investing in pre-existing ones. Millennials are also moving into positions of authority previously held by baby boomers, whether in government, business, or their own households. As millennials influence their own and other generations, values like sustainability, authenticity, social justice, and diversity are prevailing. Seeing that financial insecurity has played a defining role in the lives of millennials, Generation Z may be more likely to shrug off traditional debt systems. Gen Z are digital natives and are becoming familiar with online marketing and e-commerce tools at a young age. This is the most racially diverse generation to date, and more Gen Z females are attending college than millennial females, meaning Gen Z will likely become the most formally educated generation in history. While the level of change our society is currently experiencing may seem unprecedented, it's really not. Author Jared Diamond proposed in his seminal text, Collapse, that there are two types of choices that have been crucial in tipping the outcomes of past societies towards success or failure. Long-term planning and the willingness to reconsider core values. I think our country is in danger of collapse. Maybe not anytime soon, but I think that widespread inequalities, coupled with our world's unwillingness to adequately address climate change, could place a consequential strain on the human population. During the early part of the pandemic, we saw carbon emissions drop significantly, and we got excited seeing what a more environmentally sustainable world would look like. But nearly 10 months into COVID-19, emissions are right back where they were before the pandemic and are only expected to rise. Going back to Diamond, it behooves us to ask how we've incorporated long-term planning and how we've reconsidered our society's core values when looking at climate, sociopolitical, and generational change. Do we have a solid plan to address climate change that considers all people regardless of race, gender, and socioeconomic status? Can reconsidering our core values impact our nation's foreign affairs stance by causing us to re-embrace democracy? Are we equipping Generation Z with the tools, education, and support they need to change the world? I know these are difficult questions, but I'm going to leave you with just one more to consider. Change is happening all around us, but are we actually changing?
Good job. Wow.
Thank you, Mickey. You really helped us zoom way out from a very local sense of place to a very global sense of place. And I appreciate the big questions that you presented, and while maybe it wasn't totally direct, but your call to action for us to consider change and our relationship with it. And in the chat, some folks noted how these changes can be scary, but the resistance to change itself is potentially even scarier. Mike has said he has tons of confidence in millennials and Gen Z if we can give them the power before we ruin everything. And, I wanted to also mention there was another comment that was shared from Kim Adams. And this is both for Mickey and for all of you so far. She said, I love this lineup. It's really down to earth and diverse in a lot of ways. And I think you really helped broaden that diversity of view and perspective for us. So thank you.
And it was really a great presentation. And from the PechaKucha view, what's interesting for us, being a global organization in 1,200 cities and counting, is that we really disregard countries. We're a city-based organization, whether you're in Taipei, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, Tokyo, Sapporo, we really don't care. And we find that that's really sort of inspiring, and it really helps you be very open, and it brings everybody together. And it gives everybody, and I think the PechaKucha format too, gives everybody a level playing field, whether you're a student, whether you're a designer, whether you're a professor, or heaven help us, a politician. Everybody has 20 slides, and that's very democratic in the sense. And generally we find in Tokyo, whether we've got a very famous architect lined up and next a student, the student normally does better than the architect because they're much more prepared, and the architect is used to be talking for 25 minutes to an hour, and these short, concise presentations which do level everybody are really important. So let's hope that spreads around the world, this notion of no borders. So congratulations on a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank
Mike,
you all.
well done. He's been working so hard on this at the Collider. So keep up the good work.
Thanks, Sandra.
All right, y'all. Next, we have Lydia C.
Hi. Oh, is this okay? Hi, I'm Lydia C. I use she, they, and y'all pronouns. I'm an artist and educator. I'm a queer woman, a cultural Jew, and I'm living on stolen Cherokee land. I hold white privilege, I'm anti-racist, and I'm actively engaged in dismantling white supremacy. I founded Engaging Collections, a residency and publication at the intersections of equity and art to demystify access to special collections and archives and amplify the indispensable role that artists play as cultural translators within community. We celebrate the agency and autonomy of claiming space in history and building community. We are all archivists in some form, and we want to spread the message that everyone belongs and everyone's history is important within archives and special collections. So what is an archivist? A lot of people probably picture images like these when you imagine an archivist, and frankly, it's not far off. Library science has been an overwhelmingly white profession, although thankfully that's changing because of organizations like We Here, which is a supportive community and seeks to recognize, discuss, and intervene in systemic social issues that have plagued the library sciences, both currently and historically. So the most inclusive definition of an archivist from the Society of American Archivists is archivists are people who are professionals responsible for records of enduring value. But my question is, and the basis of our work with Engaging Collections, is who or what defines enduring value? So the responsibility of archival interpretation shouldn't rely solely on those who provide a scholarly framework, much of which is rooted in colonization and extraction, but instead should include those who contextualize through practice and lived experience. Memory institutions such as libraries, archives, and special collections, as well as museum collections, are repositories for material culture and the evidence of the human experience. But absences, silences, and missing contexts within these collections demonstrate a persistent and intentional omission of narratives from marginalized and oppressed people. And thus power, agency, and authority are withheld from those who may not have access to the records within which they are described and or intentionally omitted from. So I want to state something really important here, which is that I don't mean to devalue the archival and library science professions. I say everyone is an archivist, but many of these people are highly trained and have spent a lot of time learning how to properly handle and manage and process these materials. I'm not claiming that anyone off the street should start going in and handling unique, irreplaceable materials or rearrange collections. I'm suggesting that the archival field is experiencing a massive shift in the way that materials are interpreted and made accessible to the public. And it's important to acknowledge that whiteness has historically been the default lens through which art, culture, and collections have been contextualized. And it's time to decolonize the archive. Jasmine Wahi, social justice curator at the Brooklyn Museum, believes that one of the reasons racism is so endemic is because most, not all, institutions were founded to preserve a certain type of history, which is only now being reconciled as singular and exclusionary. So what exactly does that mean? Well, I believe that everyone has the agency and should have the access, power, and support to contribute to archival collections, the contextualization of these collections, and the interpretation of the materials within. Everybody should get an archive, and everybody has an archive, and everybody's an archivist. Essentially, our ephemera and documentation of our own lived history is as important as what's already in there in the prevailing records that we've gotten used to. So, for instance, the special collections at Pack Memorial Library in downtown Asheville, special collections manager and lead archivist Catherine Calhoun Cutshaw and team started the Black Asheville History Harvest program. And this is Miss Sophie Dixon being interviewed as part of that, in the hopes of making their collection more representative of Asheville's diverse history and community. They invited members of the community to bring their family pictures and ephemera in to be scanned on site and then returned and added to the collection. And so now, in addition to hundreds of images of white people on the Blue Ridge Parkway, we now have this image of Clifford Cotton III, grandson of E.W. Pearson, who was a visionary entrepreneur and community builder in Asheville, with his auntie posing on the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is what history looks like. So Engaging Collections facilitates artists to act as translators for history. And through funding and mentorship and support, we work with artists and library science professionals, like these folks right here, to build bridges between art and library science. Our current resident, Honey Simone, is in the process of a collaboration with Pack Memorial Library and Catherine Calhoun Cutshaw. Honey's revitalizing the Special Collections Room, and Honey and Catherine, with support from Honey's production collective Different World, are transforming it into a more inclusive and inviting environment featuring the Carolina Record Shop, which is an installation designed by Honey featuring music, images, and stories of Black Asheville. That's all I'm able to share at the moment, but stay tuned because it's going to be big. Through amplifying these underrepresented and overlooked narratives within collections and archives, expanded engagement becomes a much more organic process. And my hope in sharing this information is that each of us, especially those whose lived experience is underrepresented or misrepresented in archival collections, history books, and classrooms, as well as well-known local legacies, will feel empowered to get involved with intentionally saving their history, because we're already doing it through Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, and through metadata. Everyone is already an archivist. So we could get involved by getting our collections to be included in our local history collections, like the Buncombe County Special Collections. For more information on how to get involved or to get your history added into the local legacy and communicate with Catherine Calhoun Cutshall or Honey at the library, you can visit us on our website, and the link will be dropped in the chat in just a moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you for giving us that lens into colonizing the archive and archiving and archivists, which is such a great word. I love the way you said that. And also just inviting us into taking part in the agency that you're describing by getting involved ourselves and engaging with our interpretation of history, and remembering to be critical about the lenses that we use when we consider art and history. And in the chat, who or what defines enduring value was a great question that was dropped in there. Love the photo of the Asheville Royals baseball team. Everyone is an archivist. Great work.
Yeah, and PechaKucha too is archiving. We're working with Jay to put these presentations online, and we'd like to work with you too, because I think there is a potential for PechaKucha having like a PechaKucha box where people can come and upload 20 images. Although we're now working with shorter formats like 5x5 and 10x10, because I think the spoken word is just as important, and the story. And we're calling PechaKucha the world stories now, because we have over 25,000 presentations recorded at events like this. And since we've launched PechaKucha Create, where anybody can upload a presentation, we shot up to 65,000 within six months. So you know, it's really important to capture these voices, as well as just the fantastic images that you were showing. But you're doing such an important job. So congratulations and thank you so much, and keep doing it.
You get an archive and you get an archive. I love it. That's great, Lydia.
Thank you so much, Lydia. All right, y'all, to close out, we are so excited to have a presentation from Mark Dytham, who you've heard from in between each of the presentations, and now he's going to talk to us about exciting PechaKucha things.
Okay, so as you know, I'm Mark Dytham, and I have a day job. I'm an architect here in Tokyo, along with Astrid Klein and Yukinari Hisayama. We run Klein Dytham Architecture. And Astrid and I met at the Royal College of Art, and we came out to Japan in 1988, and we worked for a Pritzker Prize winning architect, Toyo Ito. And since then, we've set up our own office, and that last project you just saw was Ginza Place in the heart of Tokyo, at the major crossroads in Ginza, and it's a showroom for Nissan and Sony. We got started by designing really unusual buildings like this wedding chapel. And because there's no religion in Japan, the project revolves around the big idea of a wedding veil. And when the groom picks up the bride's veil for the kiss, this 11-ton perforated aluminium screen with 4,700 acrylic lenses swings up, and the bride and groom go across the stepping stones, have a champagne toast, and it closes for the next wedding. They do 8 or 9 weddings a day on a weekend. So it's really a wedding factory. This is a project we've just finished in Nasu in Tochigi Prefecture. It's a really beautiful part of Japan. There's an active volcano in the background there. And this is for a hotel as well. And it's really a clubhouse where the kids can go and hang out and allow the parents to have a quiet time. Yeah, we designed it like a fairy tale, something that you find within the clearing in the woods. It's called Poku Poku, which means sticking up in Japanese. Yeah, and it's a really lovely project. It's just opened. And people are spending a lot more time in the countryside in Japan, so it's doing quite well. So I have a night job too, PechaKucha Night. And this is where it all started in Super Deluxe in 2003 in central Tokyo in our art space. And with the dawn of digital photography and Keynote on the Mac, which didn't crash, we started to run these show and tells for architects and designers. But you know what we're like, we all tend to talk too much, especially architects. We get excited about a handrail detail and we go down a rat hole. So we came up with the idea of just 20 images shown for 20 seconds each, and then the next presenter's on. So if you don't find it very interesting, you can go to the bar and have a drink and get back and somebody else is on. And PechaKucha means the sound of chit chat in Japanese. But we also quickly discovered that it was a great platform for hidden heroes. This guy is a construction worker. He's 63 and he works on some of the tallest buildings in Japan. And he's never spoken before in public. And this was his first time. He didn't want to speak. In fact, that's our staff just behind him waiting for him to say, I don't want to do it. But he took the mic and off he went. So from a one-off event in Tokyo, it started to spread virally around the world. And today we're amazingly in 1,254 cities. There are a lot of architects around the world who talk too much, I guess. So it's completely viral. We don't promote it. And it's just word of mouth. And we're wondering why it's become so successful. Well, I think it's that very simple framework, the story arc with a beginning, a middle, and end. And it's fast, it's fun, and it's super friendly. And everybody can get their head around it, including my daughter and my wife's school, they use it. And I think it's that restriction. It's, you know, PechaKucha is the Twitter of presentations, really. And as I said before, it's about a level playing field. It's about always getting the same, like a Big Mac. And that restriction, not of up to 280 characters, but 400 seconds. And I think that's made it really, really endearing. But it's not just a format, of course, it's a community too. And we have this amazing flywheel of the format promoting the community and the community promoting the format. And that's why it's been going for 17 years and we get stronger. We still today grow by about 10 cities a month, which is really amazing. And that community is really, really, really important for all sorts of reasons, especially now where we went from 1,200 events in a year to 0 in March. But within 2 weeks, we pivoted and we launched what we call PechaKucha Inspire. And these are presentations made online through Zoom. We'd never done that before. And as I said earlier, we've had over 250 of these events. And it's capturing the positivity and the creativity and the ingenuity in cities during this pandemic. It's not all bad news. There's good news too, and there are great ideas. And we've, you know, it's been amazing to travel around the world and talk to you as well and find incredible ideas like this. This is a designer in Japan called Nozaina. And just by taking an A4 folding sheet, clear folding sheet, just with 2 cuts, you can make it into a PPE face mask. A really brilliant idea for those moments that was a real struggle. Before the pandemic, we'd been experimenting with a browser-based PechaKucha format, which we call PK Create, where you upload 20 images, you voice it, and then share it, all done through the browser. No video is needed. And this allows it to be used all around the world on a phone, a tablet, or computer. And during the pandemic, it was really interesting to get submissions from all around the world, especially this one from Wuhan, where Dana spent 76 days in her apartment, not being able to move out. A really fascinating story. Please check it out on PechaKucha.com. But this tool, PechaKucha Create's been really interesting. And now we're being able to run competitions online where submissions are made through the PechaKucha format. This is one we've just held with the World Architecture Festival, and the results came out yesterday. Not my computer ever. It's really fantastic to be able to run these competitions. It's a global competition. And we've been also working with Right Sites. So this is the Frank Lloyd Wright Conservancy, and bringing awareness to the Frank Lloyd Wright homes all around the US, which have been really struggling in the pandemic because they've not been able to have any visitors. So PechaKucha is being used in all sorts of incredible ways around the world, including Asheville. And we want to say a huge thank you to you, and a huge thank you to Jay and his fantastic team for putting it on. And here's Jay at one of our PechaKucha powwows in Tokyo. And we want to thank him for traveling all the way out to meet our big PechaKucha community. Thank you so much. Hey, there's a first, always. That's the first time my computer fell off its stand.
I'm just glad it wasn't you falling off your
Yeah, I
stand.
thought it was you.
My computer fell backwards. It may have looked. Here's my stand. Anyway, it's a tissue box and another box. So anyway, thank you so much.
You had a lot of inspiration from actually our speakers in their sort of private speaker chat. We're all excited about your architecture and commenting on how beautiful it was and how it's inspiring them to travel. And in the comment in the chat, there's a comment. Gotta love when the big guy on campus shows us how to recover gracefully.
Well, all sorts of things happen. So anyway. No, it's been really, what a really amazing set of presentations today. As I said right at the beginning, PechaKucha really is like a box of chocolates. So surprising, you never know what you're going to get.
Mark, that was great. Thank you so much. Oddly enough, obviously the PechaKucha part of this is all exciting, but my degree's in architecture, and calling back sort of fond memories of school from the beginning of your presentation was particularly exciting for me. So yeah, thank you again so much for zooming here all the way from Tokyo. We want to give a brief reminder that we have volume 28 coming up. We're going to assume it will be an online event, but that's coming up on February 19th of 2021. That's a Friday night. Yes, that's a Friday night. So to make sure. And we will be posting more in the upcoming months to preview that. Last comment. What's the last comment that I'm supposed to share? There's a comment I'm supposed to share. I'm so sorry.
I'll jump in here.
Oh, thank you, Jay.
I just saw this comment right as we were transitioning away, and I wanted to share it with Mark. Karen in the chat says, "We're so thankful to you for starting this amazing format. We've loved attending for the past 5 years, something we always look forward to." And I echo that. Being one of the organizers here has been a big part of my life since I've been in Asheville, and I appreciate the ongoing support we get from you and the whole team in Tokyo.
No, thank you all so much, and it's really important, and it just proves what a positive world we live in, and what an inspiring world we live into. So thank you all very much, and thank you especially, Jay. It's been very calm, your organization today. And I know that it's always a nightmare just before there's an hour green room as we all check our cameras and voices, but you were, the epitome of calmness there. So thank you so much. And thank you for a great production. It was really professional. Thank you. Go Asheville.
I will piggyback very quickly on what Mark just said and comment that Jay seems calm, but he is figuring everything out, and there's a fire beneath the surface. Don't you worry. We will, let's just have a round of applause for all of our presenters, organizers, everyone. This was really fantastic.
Oh, I guess we have to do a group photo, by the way, yeah? We always do one of those at the end. If there's if you just put your hands up like that or do something, don't move them unless they become a blur. And if someone
Luke's got to find his sunglasses.
That's right. Find your sunglasses.
Find your sunglasses.
There they are.
There he is.
Nick.
Can someone do a screenshot?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you do it? Hey, PechaKucha.
I got
Hold
it.
on, did somebody do it?
I got it.
Okay, great.
We always forget to do that. That's a good call.
Do.
Thank you.
Yeah, my glasses fell underneath my couch from the first shot, you know. So I had to go
And I also want to say thank you to everybody in the YouTube channel. There were some really great comments, and it was fun trying to read those and think of what to say. But very, very nice to have that sort of connection with everybody.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thank you all the presenters. Can't do any of this without you. I know everyone put in a lot of work. Great job, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. And everyone have a great night.